Do you want to know how bigoted the Trump administration is? Because I'm about to tell you. It's been deleting all references to black and female soldiers. That includes from the DoD website, it includes from the White House website, and I think most appallingly from the Arlington National Cemetery. These are people who fought and, in some cases, literally died for America. They've won awards for heroism, and they're being deleted from history because in Trump's America, you are not allowed to be black or a woman and have contributed to the country. And last night, I saw a really shocking example of it. It eliminated pages commemorating a guy named Charles Calvin Rogers, a black man. Rogers retired as a brigadier general, but in Vietnam, he won the Medal of Honor, America's highest medal of valor, because he defended his base from 3 separate assaults while being severely wounded 3 times. But he's a black man, so it doesn't count.
Donald Trump is actively trying to purge museums of Black history and whitewash America's history by calling our museums too woke.
Well, we want the museums to treat our country fairly. We want the museums to talk about the history of our country in a fair manner, not in a woke manner or in a racist manner, which is what many of them, not all of them, but many of them are doing. Our museums have an obligation to represent what happened in our country over the years, good and bad, but what happened over the years in an accurate way.
Black American history is barely taught in America as it stands now. There's no universal curriculum in this country to explain the history of what it means to be Black in America and our Black experience. We learn our history from our parents, our grandparents, our elders, and our community, and that's how we've always learned our history. An abridged version of what most people in this country learn is that slavery was bad. Slaves were brought from Africa. They worked on plantations, mainly cotton and tobacco. Lincoln ended slavery, then cut to Martin Luther King and civil rights, and then we've been free. But that is not how history works, right? Our history is omitted from curriculum and omitted from the mainstream society because that would have to mean that America would admit its portion in systematically oppressing us today. Slavery lasted for 246 years, from 1619 until 1865. And then for 89 years after 1865, we lived under one of the worst apartheid systems in the modern world.
It's been over a month, and we are still waiting to hear back from Education Secretary Linda McMahon about whether teaching Black history classes would violate Donald Trump's executive order against so-called radical indoctrination. When asked about this during her confirmation hearing back in February, McMahon said, quote,
I'm not quite certain, and I'd like to look into it further and get back to you on that.
Yes, please. Do get back to us on that.
We finally have some good news. A U.S. district judge has ordered the Trump administration to restore the slave exhibit that was removed in the state of Philadelphia. And baby, how many times do I have to tell them, no matter what you try to do with erasing the slavery exhibit anywhere in the U.S., baby, it does not change that it did not happen. So this is a win. During Black History Month alone, baby, put those things back up. And make sure when y'all put it back up, you restore it exactly how you found it. Because again, no matter what this man does, as in Trump, honey, he can try to erase everything he wants to erase, remove, but baby, it did happen. So again, this is some good news. Finally, every day it's something. But again, they have to restore that slavery exhibit exactly how they found it.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well today. Welcome to the channel. So, ladies and gentlemen, in most cases they say, however much you try to erase something, however much you try to hide the truth, still it will surface. It doesn't matter. But then again, remember, this is something that happened. And in truth, in all honesty, it still happened. So even if you're trying to bury the truth, still, this is going to resurface. So ladies and gentlemen, currently we've seen the Trump administration trying to erase Black history. This is in the event where the monuments, you know, the historical sites are being abolished by the Trump administration. So guys, let me take you up to speed. So you realize that when people decide, or rather when people have history with them, so one of the things that history help in terms of growth and development to humans is that it empowers and it gives you a sense of identity. So in my previous videos, you had me speaking about the African communities whose relatives, whose people were deported or rather were taken for slavery, and they've never met these people. So basically, some of them don't even know where they came from. Some of them died when they were crossing the oceans, the mountain, when they were being deported or rather taken to the parts of Europe and also America to be slaves. Yeah. So when you try to erase this part of people's culture and people where they became from, like, this is so diabolical. Again, history help us to prevent future injustices. And as you can see right now, this is some of the fight that is really going on, especially with the ICE thing, you know. So history builds a sense where we understand certain things took place and we don't want to go back to be like that again. And then also understanding the full narrative. Yeah, like I said before, so most of the time in this case, the Black history has been hidden from the mainstream, from books, and even to a point where professors, or rather the administration, is debating whether this should be taught in school or not. Yeah. And we are having, like, an institution is supposed to be a place where there's diversity, you know, where people get to learn and so on. But if you want to hide the truth from them, that sounds still diabolical. So I'm wondering, what is the end game? What could be the end game with the Trump administrative? But in the sense where you've seen, like, others, administrators or other content creators, I've been speaking about how it's going to be and how the MAGA people are very scared of being the minority. And also the people need to know about this. The people need to know about the history, what happened to them, where did their ancestors came from and all that, right? Yeah, so we've seen that in the recent events, the Trump administration also has been trying, you know, to cut funding of those Black history. So in this sense, we get to see how the Black history is being tampered with from all corners of the world. I'm talking about Europe, I'm talking about America as well, because they do not understand that majority of people who helped in the building of the America and Europe were actually slaves. And where were these people getting slaves? They were getting these slaves from Africa. Africa experienced a very large number of slavery. And we all know that. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Yvonne, just in case you're new here. And to my returning subscribers, thank you for staying. Thank you for coming around. To my new subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. And you're welcome to being part of my online family. And tell me, what do you think? Do you think what is happening is really good, or rather, how can we curb this whole situation? Because clearly Trump is not relenting.